It's hard for most of us really to consider the commercial lineup because heck, we just aren't in that market. But when you are, you kind of want to look at all the options. Hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now behind me is one of the latest offerings, the 2016 Nissan NV200, aka Nissan van. Now this is obviously straight utilitarian, not a people hauler, but really delivering that business in with all those cargo options. Now, if this exterior is really stark and kind of contrasting to what you love, well, that's because this is, after all, commercial and straightforward work ethic. Now, what is the big excitement behind this vehicle? Well, it could be the Euro-esque kind of exterior, maybe a throwback Thursday, possibly even to the Ford Windstar with that front end. But really from here back, it's all about the cargo. Now, looking at this is pretty much straight plain Jane. Anytime you see an inset like this, well, pretty much a window option. Now, down the side, pretty much cargo van-esque. And when you get to the front, what you're really going to see is what I refer to as the glass. There's tons of it, really, even right here at the side windows and that huge front windshield. And that's going to be about the only glass you're going to find on this particular model, except there is a little option in the back on those cargo doors. Now, what you're also going to see is somewhat big mirrors. Now, trust me, on bigger vans, they're even bigger, but these are somewhat wide ears here. Now, what I like about these mirrors is they're a two-level system, you know, that one huge mirror and that little compact inset. Now, there is no blind spot awareness. That little indicator right there is going to be about the only option you have to see down this side. From the profile, you really get the true effect, especially with this really front end. Again, kind of Windstar-esque, but more Euro styling. Now, what I like is, again, the full glass you have up here, and of course, there's stark contrast once you get about right here. If you're not used to the good old commercial style van, well, don't expect a 360 view anywhere back here. Now, what you're going to see is you're going to find standard operating procedure, meaning there's a sliding door here, and yes, I'm matching one on the other side. Now, you have the dual stage doors at the back, and I'll show you that in a second. But let's look at the overall dimensions. Now, what you're going to see here is around about 186 inches overall. Wheelbase fairly stretched at 115. Now, what do those numbers really mean? Well, this is somewhat comparable to a full-size, mid-size type of sedan, and, well, ground clearance is, well, somewhat sedan-esque. It's about a half a foot off the ground. And where that's really going to come into play is really getting things inside this vehicle, especially at the back end. Now, with the low stance on this vehicle, what does that really equal out to? Well, easy step in height and easy lift in height, specifically in the back area. But let's start really at the front end. First thing you'll notice is the very wide door up here. Again, the wide glass and a very wide entrance. That's really going to help with kind of ingress and really overall comfort. What you're also going to notice is a lower step in height here, just over about 14 inches. Really easy ingress, sling around and slide in. Even better, the captain's chairs right here, really being reinforced on the outside, really helping with that wear and tear since you're going to be in and out of this vehicle. Now, when you swing around to the cargo door, first thing you'll notice is, again, this is fairly wide, and I like the fact that it locks into place. Now, it's not really a heaved lock, meaning you're going to have to pull real hard. It just helps on those heels that this is going to close back on you. Now, when you look at the opening here, it's around about 26 inches wide and about 46 inches tall. That's going to be pretty good, decent opening here to get things in. Now, looking at the height here, as you go from front to back, there's a little bit more elevation. This is about a 5-inch increase, but again, not that high, about 19 inches overall. Really easily taking packages that are heavy, getting it to here, and sliding them inside. Now, swinging to the busiest end of the vehicle, really the cargo entrance at the back end. Now, what you're going to notice is it's a 60-40 split rear door. The driver's side being smaller, one, because it's on the roadway end. You don't want to be way out in traffic when it opens up, but also the fact that pretty much we're utilizing one door most of the time, so why not make one of them bigger? Now, what you're also going to notice is this does come with the optional glass here. That's going to help with kind of backward visibility, of course, but it also means you can see into the cargo area. If you want a little bit more security, of course, go with the straight panel doors. That's going to provide that. Now, let's take a real world scenario. We've got these finished kind of cabinets here we're going to take to a local school, and I'm a one-man band, so let's see how hard it is to get these in here, specifically this heavy beast. This is about 48 inches square, and it's going to be quite heavy, but what we like is that this has a low ingress, again about 22 inches to the floor. So let's see if I can get all this in here by myself. Now, I didn't really measure this before I started this just to show this point, because this vehicle really has a limitation when it comes to the opening in the back. It's got pretty decent width, but when it comes to height, around about, well, just under 48 inches. The way I can tell that, well, this is exactly 48, and it's just not going in. And one of the Achilles heels is the locking mechanism for the door. And you'll see them hanging down right up here, preventing that extra height right there for one. On the other side, it is the rear cargo light. Has a little bit of a protector there, and even that little minimal problem right there is preventing this from getting in. We're just so close. So what does that mean? Pretty much gonna have to lay this down flat and reconfigure the cargo. So to look at the numbers here, what you're looking at again isn't right at 48 inches in that opening. Now it's more than that once you're in here, just over 50 some inches, 53 about when you get in here. But that's of course not helpful if you can't actually get the item inside. So height does help if you're stacking things, but if the item is taller than 48 inches, you're just not gonna be able to squeeze in here except maybe on the diagonal. Now what we've got is we've got it finally in here, the big piece, and between the wheel wells is again exactly 48 inches. Now this bookshelf is exactly 48. So do we really want to wedge that inside that? No. So we've angled it just a little bit, sitting on that square wheel well, which is of course helpful that it's not rounded. Now what we also have is those other two items, and what we're going to do is bring them through the side door. And this is again where this added benefit of these side doors and the width they offer helps with this here. So let's kind of squeeze these in. Now from the far away vantage, you can see everything loaded in here. Again, with this bigger one, a little bit angled here, it fit inside just fine. Those two small ones up front. Now there are anchor points, and with everything situated like we have, they're, well, not very accessible. But that's kind of fine, because with this bigger one laying flat, it actually braces the vertical ones a little bit better. Now let's look at the rear doors here. Again, you've got the wider one, and you do have the swing out capability, because again, normally it's going to lock into place about right here, but you can simply pull this handle, it's going to tumble out a little bit further. And again, typically this is going to be on the road traffic area, so it barely goes into traffic at all. On this side, more on the sidewalk side, this can swing out just the same, and you can see the 180 opening that it provides. Really helpful with putting big items in here, whether it can lay down or stand up. Closing up shop here, let's talk about some safety features. And what I like on this model, again, is the glass, giving you great visibility out the back. But I also like the fact you had the backup camera. Now this backup camera really is more of a pointing down one than it is pointing out. In some cases gives you a little bit of both worlds, of maybe a little bit of traffic, but really those items that are right here. Because let's, for example, say you're picking up something. Do you really want to see it from far off, or do you want to see it really close up so you can get this back bumper about as close as you can get? So one lift, one easy movement. Now what we also have on this one is backup sensors, which is also a very helpful dialing it in. Lastly, what you're going to see is a little bit of bumper. Now a lot of vehicles really are just minimizing this across the board, but what it does do when you open the door, once again, is it barely transforms into a step. Now what I would have preferred is for this bumper to actually come out a little bit further, provide a little bit of step to get in, but that of course becomes problematic when you go to lift items. So this is somewhat of a compromise, giving just a little bit but not being in the way. One area you don't want to spend a lot of time is really at the fill-ups, because you got to gas and go, especially when you're doing deliveries. And where you're going to find this particular gas fill-up is, well, not back here, actually way back here in the middle. That's going to be helpful if you have a co-worker, because they can pop right out. You pull the little hatch release, and they're going to get quick access. Now this is pretty much old school with a locking mechanism on the driver's side, and it's going to have a cap system there just the same. Maybe they'll evolve and pretty much make this a hatch release, but capless on the inside. Nosing your way through traffic won't be that difficult, especially looking at this front end really protruding out, and it's about the only aerodynamics you're going to find on this vehicle, really sweeping up all the way from the bottom to the front end and then squaring off at the back. Now when it comes to the engine, what you're going to find here is a 2.0 liter inline 4-cylinder producing a whopping 131 horses and 139 foot-pounds of torque. Now, what does that really equate to? Well, when you're at kind of highway speed and you stomp the gas, you're going to want to give it a few seconds before you try to cut in front of somebody. Now, from the boot, scoot, and boogie, well, it's just the same. A lot of scream and an eventual get up and go. But what this vehicle does well is with the overall size and coupled with this engine, it's going to give you a lot of fuel efficiency for one, really get into those urban areas and doing all your deliveries, and well, horsepower really just isn't needed. You just need a little bit of spunk to get where you're going. When it comes to interior space, what you're going to find is decent room up front for two and pretty much standard leg room across the board. Now, what you're also going to find is really everything's focused on the driver, specifically with that nice armrest that can tuck out of the way when you need it. Now, when it comes for passenger comfort, pretty much straightforward. No real armrests, standard bolstering for both, and well, you can recline it in case you have those long kind of trips. Between the driver and passenger, you're going to find a nice area for some filing. You can put your standard folders in there and keep them if you need to for the invoices down the road. Now, beside that, you're going to find a nice little area for some other storage, maybe CDs or your phone, and keep it there when you need it. For connectivity, you have the USB auxiliary jack and a power supply tucked down low, and of course a place to put it should you need. This is a front wheel drive vehicle and it does come with the automatic transmission. You'll notice the transmission is tucked up high, not on the column, and pretty much out of the way, so you can have more room between the front seats to put all that gear. Now on the dash, you're going to find a nice touchscreen system with modest controls to the left and right, and of course it does have that navigation to help with deliveries. Now for climate, pretty much straightforward with a good old knob type selection, and pretty much cooling it down meant you got to blow it full speed because heck, you got to cool that cargo area and the front, so it's going to take a little bit extra time. Coupled with the stereo were some nice controls there on the steering wheel, making shortcuts and life a lot easier because that is somewhat of a stretch to reach the dash. Now on the other side is the cruise control buttons, and they are fairly easy to use, and it couples all together with the standard analog speedometer. Now that does for this extremely hot edition of Road Warrior and our test drive behind the wheel of the 2016 Nissan NV200, the good old cargo option when you got to get those deliveries done in somewhat of a small space. Now what we liked is the cargo option, fairly decent. We kind of threw a little things at it and it did quite well. And of course it has that room for two up front, all pushed with a somewhat decent engine. Now as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.